In today's episode, we're going to put the paneling up on the front side of the studio along with the windows and the door. Right here, we are receiving a new shipment of goods in from one of the big box stores. I've finished phase 2, which is the floor and the framing, and so now we're bringing in the paneling, and we had decided to put a storage room off to the side, and so bringing in the 2x4s and 2x6s to be able to build that storage room. We did not have that in our plans to start off with, but I began to realize that to build that storage room would cost a lot less since one wall is already there, which is the outside wall of the studio. It has rained so much during this period of time, I knew I needed to get this OSB under a cover. Otherwise, by the time I had time to put it all together, it would have disassembled itself. So, you're watching the old man move 55 pieces of OSB. All right, we had framed in the front side, but I did not accommodate any windows in the framework because at the time I thought I would just have a building with no windows. But then I got to thinking about it, and for aesthetic purposes, and eventually my kids will inherit this, and they'll probably want to use it for a little cabin, So I decided to go ahead and put the windows in there. I had set it too high. I sat down inside and I realized you couldn't see over the bottom of the window very well. So what you're seeing me do here, I'm lowering the window a little bit. A lot of this I had planned and written out in SketchUp and everything, but some things I had to adjust when I saw what reality dictated, So instead of the window being as high as I could put it, I had to bring it down a little bit. So this, as with anything, the first one is the worst one. So now I've got all my measurements, and I know how to go about this second one. I know what my dimensions are and where to cut I had to cut out one stud there because it had been put there on 16-inch centers, and when you put the window in there, you have to remove part of that. But anyway, we're getting that framed out for the windows. You see Bella running around. She's inspecting the work, and I can only proceed to the next step after I pass her inspection. Oh my. See this old guy running around this fast. It's laughable at how slow it really went compared to... Obviously, I didn't think you wanted to watch 5 hours worth of work here, so I speeded it up just a tad, about 32 times to be exact. But at this point, I was still enjoying the work. I thought I was going to build this thing in about 3 months, but it rained so much, and then the holidays hit and everything. It actually took me a year. It is finished now, and now I'm finally having some time to do some editing, so I'll hopefully be able to feed these to you much quicker now. Got the header in up there now for that window. Do a little cleanup here. Here's my first panel. My original intention was to use real board and batting, but when I began to study the logistics of bringing in 130 pieces of 9-foot white pine and figuring out where I was going to put it and how I was going to put it and how I was going to go get it and all that, I decided just to let the big box store deliver me some what they call reverse board and batting, which comes in sheets like plywood. Now here what I'm doing is putting up my wrap. If you do this absolutely correct, you'd need some help and wrap the whole building at one time without cutting it in panels. But since there's only me, the front was easy because I was able to take that roll of wrap and let it rest on the porch. But around the sides, there's nothing to rest that on. So what I had to do is cut it in sections But I wrapped it around each corner. It overlaps, and so I mean it is what it is, and probably a better way to do it, but this is good enough. It'll keep the air out. Now we're cutting in the windows and the door. It was really starting to get exciting about this point because now we're certainly not dried in, but at least it's drier. The rain doesn't get to the floor too bad. Still blows into the side every now and then. Sadly enough, the floor went down just absolutely. I mean, as close to perfect as you're ever going to get it, but because of the rain and me not being able to work any faster than I could, the floor did get wet, and the corners bowed up just a little bit, and plywood, you really don't want to sand plywood too much or you'll sand through the ply. So what turned out to be almost perfect when I put it down, I had to settle for it a little bit of where it stood up around the edges, just a little bit. But it's not bad. We did put carpet in, and that helps it a lot. But anyway, here we're putting up the reverse board and batting, one piece at a time. On the front, what I did is you can see where I clamped it up there, and I would pencil off the door opening and then cut it out. But I found a neat jigsaw blade for my jigsaw later on that's a little bit longer, and it sort of turns your jigsaw into a sawzall. And when I got to the windows on what will be off to the right there's going to be another room adjacent to touching this building, and I put windows in there, and I was able to use that sawzall, and I just put board up intact and then cut it out. But this worked out. Really, I don't know which was the better way to do it. This way worked out quite well. I was rejoicing right about there. It was good to get that part done. Now here I've applied there's a kind of like rubber tape. I don't know what it's really called. Some kind of flashing or insulation or something that keeps water off of your window sills and stuff. So I had applied that, and I caulked it, and there's that material I'm talking about. I don't know what the actual name of it is, but it has an adhesive back, and it's kind of rubber. Fitted around all the windows. Kind of acts as an insulator and a water protector as well. I don't know all the terms, y'all. I just write these songs as I go. I research what I need to get it done. All right, we're down to the door. Here I'm leveling and plumbing and shimming, and if you get a door to where you can put it halfway open and it stays there, it doesn't close or open, you know your plumbing and leveling and shimming work quite well. So that finishes up the front and finishes up this episode. We appreciate everybody watching, and I will put in the up the top right part of the screen, there's a little circle you can click, and it'll give you links to a playlist where you can see all of these episodes if you want to. But anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll have another one up before too very long.